Hello, everyone. We got word earlier today from LIRR Today, and if you are subscribed to them via email, you might have gotten this morning. But we got good news, and it's rare nowadays to be getting good news from the Long Island Railroad. But we got some excellent news that if anybody is looking for service to go to Flushing Meadows Corona Park, the good news is, beginning this Monday, April 24th, Metz Willetts Point will officially become a full-time station. And I'm definitely very thrilled about this news, guys. This was completely unexpected. So, I will mention that I've been, secretly trying to ask the railroad for years. I would really appreciate to have a full-time station for going to Flushing Meadows Corona Park. And the only way you could get there was via the 7 train. But now the good news is the Long Island Railroad's going to make it a lot easier. And, alright, it might cost a little bit more. Okay, I understand that. But you know what? I would rather pay $4 or $5 in general to go to Metz Willetts Point along the Port Washington branch, or let's say I'm coming from Penn Station or Grand Central Madison, and I have the thrill and adrenaline to take a little hike through the park, and then I can go back to College Point Boulevard and get the Q88 bus to go home. I mean, this is something I've been wanting for many, many years now. So, I am so glad beginning this Monday that reality is going to become a full-time possibility. So, without further ado, I'm going to read this email. And I do apologize about my phone going off there. So, yeah, I'm going to put that on silent mode. That way, none of y'all hear my phone going off. Okay, here we go. Port Washington branch trains will stop at Metz Willetts Point Station around the clock beginning this Monday, April 24th, 2023, effectively making the station a full-time stop. And one more thing I want to read from here. It says that a new schedule posted to the MTA website. Nearly all trains that currently stop at Flushing Main Street will now also stop at Metz Willetts Point 7 days a week. This includes off-peak service on weekdays, weekends, and during overnight hours, as well as peak rush hour service, though significantly fewer trains will stop during the AM peak period, including a 2-hour gap between 7:41 a.m. and 9:45 a.m., and slightly more trains will stop during the PM peak period, including a few semi-express trains to Port Washington to handle extra volume on Met game days. Alright, well, I can understand that point of view as well. So, I was also going to mention that I did confirm this via the Long Island Railroad Train Time app earlier this morning. I did post it on my Instagram story this morning. So, best thing to do if you want to double verify this yourself besides the PDF, as I'm going to show you all in just a bit, you can check the Train Time app. You can check on the website on your desktop, or you could just download the app on your smartphone or your tablet. It's available on Android and iOS. So let's get into a little bit of the history of the station. So, the station originally opened way back in 1939. It has been traditionally used for special events only, either for Met games or when the U.S. Open's taking place at the Billie Jean King Tennis Center. So, it says here, trains would stop at the station shortly before and after the event, and trains would bypass the stop at other times. In February 2021, the Long Island Railroad started stopping trains at this station for 24-hour mass vaccinations available that opened at Citi Field. During most of the last 2 years, every Port Washington branch train, including the Port Washington Expresses, have stopped at the station. Let me make sure I can continue reading here. Alright, here we go. Despite the vaccination site closing in early March 2022, the Long Island Railroad has never reverted back to serving the station during events only. So one could certainly say the Long Island Railroad Service Planning Group struggles to keep up with current events. The station remained in use full-time until the Long Island Railroad implemented the East Side Service Access Plan that began on Monday, February 27th. At which point the service returned to being served during special events only. So, the Long Island Railroad is now returning to full-time service at Metz Willets Point. The railroad says that this will replace the special event service and be in place for the foreseeable future. Technically, this can be only considered a demonstration project or experimental service, as this will be considered a major service change that involves the change of frequency of service to a station on a given day more than 25%. According to the Long Island Railroad's Title VI service standard and the MTA's Board Major Service Change Policy, the Long Island Railroad must conduct an impact analysis to determine whether the service change would have disproportionately impact on minority or low-income riders, hold a public hearing, and get approval of the MTA Board, none of which the Long Island Railroad appears to have completed. Though the Long Island Railroad has a tendency to play fast and loose with its own Title VI compliance and MTA Board approved procedures, as neither published impact analysis reports nor for a formal public hearing, nor sought to the MTA Board approval for the new schedules that took place on Monday, February 27th. The MTA did not respond to questions about whether it had completed those procedures back in the fall of 2022. While Metz Willets Point was temporarily served around the clock during most of the pandemic, ridership volume was very limited. The Long Island Railroad only confirmed that 1,751 rides per month for travel to and from Metz Willets Point Station during the off-peak months back in 2022. While the station in the middle of Flushing Meadows Park and far mostly nearby residential and commercial activity in Corona, there is a park and ride lot operated by City Field's parking vendor located underneath the 7 train that is open on weekdays and charges $5 per day. The Southfield lot is about 1,000 feet from the Long Island Railroad station. The station is also convenient for accessing Flushing Meadows Corona Park itself, which is a popular destination during the warm weather months and can be utilized by construction workers working on the Willets Point redevelopment projects, which are picking up speed. And what they're referring to is the fact that the construction workers are still working on the brand new soccer stadium for New York City Football Club, which is scheduled to open sometime in either 2027 or in 2028. Okay, here we go. Long Island Railroad previously planned to make Metz Willets Point a full-time station as part of the proposed AirTrain LaGuardia project, which would have connected LaGuardia Airport to Metz Willets Point Long Island Railroad, though the project was killed off in March of this year. But the station itself remains in poor condition. The platform currently in use for passenger service is only 8 cars long, which causes big delays during events when there are large people riding, has large vertical and horizontal gaps, and is not step-free. And remember, this station is not ADA compliant, so just keep that in mind. The MTA is nearly a decade late on a project to fully renovate the station as part of its 2005-2009 capital program, which is supposed to include extending the current north platform from 8 cars long to 12 cars long, restore the middle platform that hasn't been used for passenger service since the 1960s World Fair, add 2 new elevators to provide step-free access to both extensions, prefabricated platform shelters, and etc. This project was supposed to be completed in January of 2015, but the MTA has been dragging its feet to see what becomes of the AirTrain LaGuardia project. But even as the state plans for the AirTrain LaGuardia have been held off for a year and a half now, formerly dead since March of 2023, The MTA has not offered any further details on plan or timing for delivering the previously funded improvisions at the station. Oh, improvements, excuse me. Okay, here we go. The project should not necessarily have an appreciable impact on Port Washington branch service. The Long Island Railroad does not adjust running times for trains on event days when trains at stop. The penalty for stopping at Willetts Point is, in theory, backed onto train schedules already. Though, when trains were late, which is quite often, being able to make up by 1 or 2 minutes by skipping Willetts Point was definitely handy. Hopefully, the MTA and the Long Island Railroad will deliver on the station improvements necessarily and make an effort to grow off-season, non-event ridership at Willetts Point to make the added stops here worthwhile. So, again, there is a parking lot. I want to see where that was mentioned. Okay, that wasn't the paragraph. Right, okay, park and ride. So I'm going to open up this tab here. Yeah, there is a park and ride. So that could be... Yeah, I think the Mets do own that parking lot. Okay. So we'll look into that in just a bit. Do some investigation on that. Okay, so I want to mention that if you are curious about the new service schedule beginning on Monday, I will leave a link for this in the description below, as well as the information from the New York Mets regarding the new law. Well, it's old, but it's still available if you want to take advantage of it on Monday. So, yes. I will leave this information as well. So, as you see here, let's go to what would be the first train stopping on Monday. Here we go. The first eastbound train to stop at Willetts Point, supposedly, and I hope I'm right about this. Let's move this a little bit to the left. The first eastbound train on Monday will be the eastbound 12:17 a.m. departure from Penn Station, which will stop at Woodside at 12:28 and will arrive at Willetts Point at 12:35 in the morning. Westbound, first train that will be is the 12:37 a.m. departure from Port Washington. The train will be due into Willetts Point at 1:05 a.m. So it's easy to follow along with here. So just want to make that a note for everybody right here. Now let's look up the information regarding the parking lot. This is Roosevelt Avenue between Seaver Way and Shea Road. So thankfully I know that area very, very well of Corona. So let's see if we can look it up. Because Citi Field's technically in Corona. It's not. It's on the border of Corona and what else? Corona and Flushing, correct. Okay, so let's see if we can find Seaver Way. So this is Seaver Way and Shea Road. Okay. Shea Road, yes. Okay. So somewhere around here. Yes, here it is. So this is the Southfield General commuter lot, as you see here. So as you see here, I mean, it's pretty convenient. Don't get me wrong. You know, look at this. It definitely serves a purpose. There is no question about that. So, yes, it's actually a couple pizza shops right out here. Problem is, remember, when you go to Flushing Meadows Corona Park, this is where you would go. Oh, okay, so there is a hot dog place that opens later on in the afternoon, but that is interesting. I just want to note that. So let's do a little bit of a Google Street View of the Southfield parking lot. Let's pull it up here. Okay, here we go. So the entrance should be somewhere around here. Yeah. Okay, now I know where it is. Okay. Because I was only curious about it. So there it is. So I guess now what the MTA is trying to do in this situation, you could also take the Q48 bus to LaGuardia Airport. So there's another aspect to it, I guess. So yeah, that is another aspect. No question about that. And then right here is Flushing Meadows Corona Park, so it's literally right there. And I'm very thrilled about this news, guys, because it actually takes a lot longer to walk from the Metz Willets Point subway station. I personally would prefer to use the Long Island Railroad since, again, the park is literally right here, right off Meriden Road. So I would definitely want to do this at a later date and do a video of, taking a walk over to the Q88 bus stop on College Point Boulevard. Because I would definitely want to, have that experience of taking a hike through the park and, not having to deal with the express bus anymore. Because, guys, I'm telling you, I'm really getting frustrated with the express bus lately. Versus taking the railroad, I personally would rather take a little hike through the park just so that way I can get the Q88 bus on College Point Boulevard. And, another good aspect of it is, if you want to take the Q88 and cut through the area where the Queen's Zoo is, guys, the good news is the Q88 bus is right on 108th Street. So if you want to go to Queens Center Mall, this will also make it a lot easier, if you want to walk through the park and take the Q88 bus. Because if you look right here on the westbound side of Horace Harding Expressway, this is where the Q88 stops, right here. So I know that bus stop very well in front of the Mobile gas station. And, let's say if, you don't want to take the bus, and let's say you're a student at PS 220 or a teacher or a staff member or somebody. Now you could just walk to the park, and now you're going to be able to take the Long Island Railroad full time. I mean, this is going to definitely benefit the community of Corona. And, this is technically the MTA changing course of complying with federal Title VI compliance. Because you got to remember, Corona and Elmhurst, the demographics are heavily Latino. So you got to realize that for another factor here. So maybe a lot of people were complaining in low income communities that, now we haven't had access for years. But again, my point of view is, again, I'm somebody who likes nature. I'm somebody who likes the parks. And, I've been complaining about this for many, many years. I haven't seen the Unisphere since before COVID. So in order to have that opportunity, I'm very thrilled about that. Especially because, again, all I have to do is just cut back through here, take Meriden Road, and look, the Q88's right there. Well, hang on. Let me make sure I got that right. Because there's also another westbound bus stop you can go to right here, which is at College Point Boulevard. And then right around here, you do have this. So, thankfully, again, I know this Meriden Road area pretty well. But again, in order to get back from Avenue of Africa, you got to cut back through here on Meriden Road and then take College Point Boulevard this way. So, as I said, I know this area pretty well. And, that's what I would rather do, since the Q88 always has to stop at that College Point bus stop anyway. Well, College Point Boulevard bus stop. So, like I said, if I also want to go through another direction of the park and maybe walk past the zoo one day, then, I could also go to the 108th Street bus stop. So, this is where it is right here. Right here. So, yeah, and if I also want to go back to, let's say, Forest Hills for another example, then I have that option as well. So, yeah, definitely a lot of convenient options in that aspect of things. So, yeah, guys, I'm pretty much thrilled about this again. Service does start on Monday, so please note that for the record right here. So that's pretty much it, guys. I'm very glad that this news came out today, and I'll definitely, hopefully, take advantage of this in the future. I don't know when, but I love to show you guys how this works out from this station to get over to Flushing Meadows Park. So, thank you guys for watching, and hopefully I filled you in on some of the details, and maybe you yourself will consider taking the train to Flushing Meadows Park. So, that's it.